What's up, guys? Welcome back on the Team Solemn Circus live video. Today we are back with Unchained. I haven't played this deck in a long time. This is Unchained Fiendsmith, but I'm diving back in with this deck. I have lots of fun with it. I did top a regionals a while back with this deck. It's one of my favorite decks of all time. You know, I love Soul of Rage. One of my favorite boss monsters of the entire deck. You know, being able to go into SP or a copy of Abomination just feels absolutely amazing. We haven't seen this deck get hit that much. We have seen, of course, the Shavara being at 1. For anyone who knows us, we've been playing this deck for a very long time, kind of theorizing with it. And now the Fiendsmith cards coming out, or have been out for a bit now, we get to kind of like master the version of the deck. Before we dive into it, for like, comment, subscribe, and this video gets to 100 likes, I'll make sure to do a Unchained combo video as well. That did very good on the channel before, but now we're going to be showing up different combos. This is the Fiendsmith version. Unfortunately, it doesn't really work without the Fiendsmith version, but I'll be showing you guys different options you can play as well if you wanted to. But yeah, we're going to be starting off with the 3 copies of Arua. We do pop a lot of the time with this. This is the only card that Fiend locks you for the entire turn alongside the copy of the Rakea. So these are kind of important to note. We're only playing one of these. We do not want to normal summon this card. Anyone who tells you you want to is just wrong. The 1 copy of the Sarama, 1 copy of the Abomination, and 1 copy of the dogs here. You know, you have your Unchained Shyama, Shavara, and the Disaster Dog. For anyone who has known the channel for a long time, this is a copy of Shawarma. He is food. We love to eat him. But yeah, unfortunately, you know, this is the only card that is hit to 1, unfortunately. If this card was at 3, it'd be kind of crazy. We're not playing the Berserk Archfiend. That card is definitely cope. I did try it in the past, but unfortunately now it's just not good enough. This is really it for the Unchained package. You know, we do have Shyama coming up in an Ultra Rare and the Megatin, which is really nice, in the upcoming. And, you know, on the 20th, I think it's coming out. So it's going to be a nice pickup to play with as well, important to note. But yeah, other than that, there's not really much to mention here. We are playing still a small Unchained package, you know, kind of maximizing on everything that we want to see, and then keeping like the smaller bricks at 1. Now for the Fiendsmith cards, we are maxing on these. We're playing the 3 copies from Engraver, the 1 copy of Lurie. There's not much else that you need to see. Obviously, this card is a 1-card combo. Gets you into your Caesar. Also gets you into a Yama as well, if you guys did not realize that. You know, help you out a lot in this deck, which is going to be kind of important. Giving you copies of Caesar and then a copy of the Rage. Now for our sub-engine, we are playing the 3 copies of Tour Guide and the 1 copy of Rhino. You know, this is very standard with normal summoning with the Rhino, or normal summoning with the copy of the Tour Guide. Let's just summon with the copy of the Rhino. We go up into a copy of this. This can either dump the copy of Shavara or a copy of Shyama, depending on what we need. And then we get to go and search with this, which is quite nice. Be able to set the trap and whatever we really want to. But yeah, that's going to be it there. We have tested with these. Unfortunately, they're not good enough, you know, anymore. You can play it if you want, but this is going to be able to dump. And then, of course, with the copy of Air Leader and the extra deck dumping as well, which is quite nice. And we have tested as well with the heavier package of the Ubels, you know, playing the Triple Nightmare Throne before the copy of the opening ban of the Gates. We were playing that instead because that card was just a lot better than this ever will be. But unfortunately, they did hit that. Therefore, we're going to be playing back to Old Reliable Tour Guide. We kind of love to see it. Now for our hand traps, we are playing hand traps in this deck. We're playing the triple copies of Ash, triple copies of Valor, triple copies of Imperm, and we are playing the 1 Magnemite and the copy of Druisworm. If you guys have been around for a long time in the channel, I've always been a fan of the hand traps in the copies of Unchained. I know a lot of versions of the deck do play those board breaker type cards, you know, with the talents as well and thrust, but I find that, you know, you don't really want to set your traps with thrust. You play enough of them at 5 or 6 that, you know, a lot of the time it's kind of like dead bricks, which is just not the greatest. And if this deck doesn't get hand trapped that often, really like impactfully, you know, you're not playing Prosperity anymore. You get hit with like Ash Blossoms. Like, you know, your trap can get hit with Ash Blossoms, but again, like Talentsing, you're not going to play that many extenders in the deck. Like, you only have these 3, and I guess you can count a Engraver and a you only have these as extenders. So like, there's not much that you actually play in extenders, which is why you don't really want to be drawing 2 with talents. And like, that's just kind of an important note to kind of mention there. So we're playing those hand traps there over the copies of the steel cards. Now, I definitely think that if you want 2 to play the steel cards, you definitely can. You know, Thrust is coming out in the Secret Rare in the Megatins as well. So, you know, you can definitely pick those up for cheap if you want to be playing them. We're kind of playing a little bit of a mid version of like steals and the hand traps. So, you know, like hand traps are just absolutely crazy this format if you do play them correctly, which is why we're playing also the Magnemite and the copy of Jerusalem, just because we want to be hand trapping our opponent correctly there. Now for the spell cards, we are playing the Triple Abominations Prison, the 1 copy of Track, and we are playing the 2 copies of Talents and the 1 copy of Change of Heart and the 1 Cobble the Grave. So like I mentioned earlier, Talent isn't that great to draw 2. Now we are playing the hand traps, therefore drawing 2 can be more useful. Same thing with Change of Heart, being able to take your opponent's monsters. A lot of times you can go second and take these. Now, like Change of Heart is kind of like a flex spot, the 41st card of the deck. I did want to just put this in because I thought that siding was going to be a little bit better this way. You can change it or take it out completely if you want to, but going second, Changing of Heart or Ragacking your opponent definitely can help this deck out quite a bit. You know, just taking one of the opponent's like main monsters. But I didn't want to dedicate like multiple slots like with this, and then playing like 3 mind control thing, thrust as well. I didn't want to dedicate everything that I have into this steel kind of cards there. But a lot of the times you're not going to be drawing 2 with this, but when you are playing those hand traps, obviously drawing 2 into the hand trap can be quite nice. But most of the time you're going to be ripping your opponent's hand, so you can hit like a high impact hand trap that would definitely hurt you more, like a Bestial or a copy of like an Imperm to set up like your Caesar and your Rage. An Imperm can definitely hurt yourself. Or a lot of the times taking the opponent's talents, you know, if they do activate a monster effect and you end up talenting their hand and they see a talent, always rip that back, because most of the time they're going to be just talenting you and then you just essentially lose on your end board of Rage and Caesar, and it's just definitely not going to be the greatest. But yeah. This deck did get a boost with Appaloosa being gone as well. You know, it was kind of hard to beat Appaloosa with this deck, you know, spending a bunch of monster negates. So now we can just kind of play those kind of steel cards a little bit. Take like some of the cards that would end up beating our board, like the pops or the SPs and the IPs and stuff like that, which we can then use against them. Now for the traps, we're playing the triple copies of the Escape and the double copy of the Abomination Chamber. Like I mentioned earlier, 5 isn't enough. You don't need to play the spell card. You can if you're in a slower format, but of course it's not going to be a slower format. We don't see Fluanderies around anymore, therefore it's not going to be that impactful. You know, your Rage is going to be most likely resolving against almost any other deck. Therefore, we're going to be playing that ratio of 5. Now moving on to the extra deck. We are playing the double copies of Yama. The extra deck has become a little bit tighter. Therefore, we're not playing the third copy. And you never really needed a third copy unless you were playing kind of suboptimally. We're not playing Prosperity in the deck either anymore. You know, it is only at 1. And the deck could play it if you want to. But we're playing the Fiendsmith cards instead. If you did not want to play the Fiendsmith cards, you could play like 1 Prosperity and then put like the Requiem in instead, like this stuff here. It can still be nice. It's just unfortunately not going to be doing that much for you. And then on the other hand, if you did want to play or you own the U-Bell cards, you could play a Phantom of U-Bell as a monster negate. It does come up. This is just a nice card as an extender as well, but like it's just too much of a package here. Like that's just too thick to kind of fit in. You're going to lose a little bit of your flex spots with the hand traps and stuff like that. And in this format, hand traps are just really good. So we're playing the 2 Yama. We're playing the 2 copies of Rage, the 1 copy of Anguish, and the 1 Abomination. Now, we are still playing the copy of Access Code Talker and the SP Little Knight. Obviously, some players have dropped the copy of Access Code Talker, but the Access Code into like either your Rage or the Anguish is able to stop the copies of the Druid's Worm, which is important because, you know, you can go Chain Link 1, target the Anguish, and then your opponent can no longer respond. Therefore, they can't really Druid's Worm you, send the card there, which kind of help you with the game. You know, that brings you up to 53. And then you have, you know, normally in one other body in the field to get the game with that. So kind of important. Your Rage into SP has always been a really good combo. And then, of course, Abomination just pops a bunch of cards. Can always come in clutch. That's kind of it for your generic links. We are playing some other cards here in the form of Caesar. And then we are playing, of course, the Fiendsmith package with the Moonsky, the Sequence, the Requiem, the Princess, the Aerial Eater, and a copy of Desiree. So Aerial Eater has a really cool effect in this deck. It's not as good as the U-Bell, obviously. But with the copy of here, you have your copy of the Rhino here. You have multiple dumps that you can do, like being able to dump a copy of the Shyama or the copy of the Arua, or not the Arua, but the Shavara. You always have different accesses points to the deck. Like if you only start with the Fiendsmith cards, you can actually dump the copy of Aerial Eater if you have, like, or you can activate Aerial Eater, dump the copy of Shyama if you have any other trap in your hand. And if you don't have a trap, obviously you can dump the copy of Shavara. Shavara can then set a trap, and then depending on how you play it, you can obviously get into access that way here. But like there's different combos you can do. Like normally you're going to be having at least one, like either a copy of a trap or a copy of a monster. So being able to send this off any like Fiendsmith card can kind of get you into your like Unchained package, which is quite nice. And then you can summon it back out because you do have like different like attributes. Like we have the, wherever it's at, like with the U-Bell deck, you can just banish the copy of the Princess and then the copy of U-Bell to summon itself out. Now, we do have these two here, which we are playing. You know, still playing the copy of Soul. I think Disaster Dog is going to be kind of crazy. Obviously, when you don't open it up, this can be a card that you use on your turn as well, putting it in the graveyard. But a lot of times you can like banish both of these. You know, the princess does come up here because we do play like 2 other darks. So you can banish it to summon up the copy of Air Leader for your 3rd level 6. There are times where I do want to play double High Caesar, but I just can't really find myself fitting it in. I have thought about maybe cutting the Desiree. But if you cut the Desiree, you can definitely cut the Moon. In that case, like, you know, you're going to be seeing your Unchained or your Physics package even less. And then at that point, like, I just don't really feel like double Caesaring your opponent is going to be that much enough. You can change up the extra deck a bit. You know, some players will probably tell you to play a copy of Typhon, but I like the Access Code Talker for the range to take that Jerusalem because we see Bistils are going to be a lot more relevant in this format. That's really it for the combo or for the deck profile. If you guys do want to see combo videos, let me know in the comment section down below. I definitely can do that for you guys. This deck is going to be absolutely fun. I am taking this to locals as well. You know, trying to decide between this and Sprite to do a like absolute from the ground up, showing you guys like what different variations of the deck you can play, what the minimum of the like deck is, and then of course your minimum engine, and then seeing why you want to play certain cards, and like trying to like let you guys see the insider info on like why the deck is from the way the deck is in current formats. Therefore, you know, when the format does change, you can be ahead of the scene and kind of be able to adapt to your locals. Regardless, hope you enjoyed watching the video. Let me in the comment section down below if I forgot anything or anything else you guys want to be seeing. Don't forget to stay safe. Peace.